Right, we are now learning Amud Yomi, the Amud Yomi Shiur here in Avos Shalom B'Shemesh. Welcome to everybody that came to Avos Shalom. Please take your seats. We are recorded now, so thank you very much. Welcome everybody in YouTube, Torah Anytime, and Kol HaLashon. We are in today's Amud, it's Kuf Ches Amud Aleph, Bava Metzia Kuf Ches Amud Aleph. Stay class for amazing Gemara that we're going to learn. Right now in Kuf Zayin Amud Beis in the bottom of the page. Rabba bar Rav Huna, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Rabba bar Rav Huna. We said yesterday that when there is a river, the river is flowing and the boats are there. The boats are sailing in the river. I didn't draw the boat, I'm sorry. And next to the river, one should not have trees growing. Trees should not be growing there because the people who schlep the boat, sometimes the boat just does manage on its own, even today. So people have to actually take like a rope and schlep it, and they're walking in the bank of the river while, pulling the boat. So they need some space. We said they don't need 16 amos, but they need like daled amos of a yochid plus. So therefore, if somebody has a forest, chachamim actually force him, forest or even other trees, whatever, even loose trees. The person is not allowed to have the forest there. He's supposed to cut the trees and let people go through. So there's like I would say a thoroughfare, but there should be space for the people to walk with, schlepping the boat. Oh, very nice. But schlepping the boat doesn't mean on their backs. I mean, the boat is in the river, and there's like a rope connecting the boat that is in the river to the person. They do it to the horses too. In olden times, they had horses in the court. Very nice. Story time. Story regarding this halacha. Bezos Hashem. Already questioned. Rabba bar Rav Huna havile hahu abba. Rabba bar Huna had an abba. Abba here does not mean father. Abba means a forest. Rabba bar Rav Huna actually owned a forest. Where was it? Sadly, Aguda de Nahara, by the bank of the river. That's where he owned a forest. Amrulei, so people told him, Rabbanon told him, the halachic authorities told him, Neikutz mal, Rabbi, he should be kotzetz, cut off your forest. His forest was located over here, in the middle of the bank of the river. That's his forest over here, next to the river. He had a neighbor here and the same neighbor here. Soon we're going to know who the neighbor is, And in the middle, that's the bank of the river. This is north, this is south. In the middle, he has, it's all one long forest, the middle of it belonging to Rabba bar Rav Huna. And Chachamim told him, Rabba bar Rav Huna, here, Rabbi, set an example, cut your trees, because people have to go through. Omer lehu. So then he told them, you know what? I'm not rushing to do that. Kutsu iloi v'tatoi. I'd like my upstairs neighbors and my downstairs neighbors to cut their trees. Let's see if they do that. V'adar nekutzano. I'll be the last one to do that. If I see that he cuts, and he cuts, really it's the same person, then I will cut as well. Go to them first, then talk to me. Frag the Gemara, is that leadership? Heichi avid hachi. How did you do that? How did the Moira react like that? The Aksiv, it says in Sefer Tzfanya, is koishishu v'koishu. Is koishishu v'koishu. There are many explanations. One explanation is koishishu means gather. Everyone should gather and do teshuva together, like they do an atzeres teshuva by the internet or tznias. Why are there so many disasters? His koishishu, gather between all of you, and his koishishu, do teshuva, the koishu, and then give musar to other people. Meaning, V'omer Reish Lakish, kshoit atzmecha, first embellish yourself, which means first you yourself should behave well. Don't give musar to other people or expect other people to do well, to do good before you do yourself. In other words, practice what you preach before you preach. First of all, set an example and then tell other people musar. Okay, you accept that? So therefore, how could Rabba bar Rav Huna here behave like that? He, as an Amora, should be the first one to cut, set an example, even if he wouldn't be an Amora, just a person who's, conscientious. First cut your own tree over here, and then tell the neighbors, by setting an example, that they should do the same. Why are you working the other way around? Answers the Gemara, you know who his neighbors were? Very nice neighbors. Awesome, over there, in that case, Abba Debei, Abba, those forests, upstairs, downstairs forest, you know who it belonged to? be Parza Krupila Hava. He belonged to Parza Krupila. Parza Krupila, it's about the third time that I meet this guy. I don't want to meet him in a dark alley. Parza Krupila was a Sgan Melech. He was like a vice president of Babel, not an easy person, and he would like to steal, and he basically was the town sheriff, and he did whatever he wanted. Yeah. And basically, if you tell him to cut off his forest, he would probably cut off your head. Like, you don't like tell him cut off your forest, and he'll say, okay, I'm cutting my forest. That's not the way Parza Krupila works. And therefore, so now says Rabba bar Rav Huna, says, listen, you have this forest here, right? And then you have the other forest, again, belonging to my nice neighbor Parza Krupila. He's not going to cut it. He's not going to cut it. He doesn't care at all about the fact that this is a disturbance. Yeah, this is like an obstacle for the poor schleppers of the boats. Now, what are you going to gain by me cutting in the middle? Nothing. And as the Gemara is going to elaborate, says the Gemara, the Omar, this is now the case for Rabba bar Rav Huna. Ikaitzu kayatzna. You know what? If he cuts, wow, I'll cut. If Parza Krupila would be so nice and, socially aware, and would say, of course, I'm cutting my trees to let people go through. Wow, great. Of course, I'll cut my part in the middle. And then the schleppers of the boats have one big, one long, clear thoroughfare to go through. Amazing. The lokaitsu, but if he's not going to cut, okay, then amai ekutz, why should I cut? What are we going to gain? We're not going to gain anything by that. Why? Here we have a full forest, here a full forest. Then in the middle, the fact that in the middle you have a clearing is not going to help them. The imam telechu ashlayu mistagiluhu. If they somehow manage to somehow go through with the trees, because they already anyway have the trees here and trees there, and the ropes, they manage somehow with the ropes, then they don't need me to cut, right? Because anyhow, he's not cutting, it's not helping anything significant. The Eloi, right? The Eloi lo mistagilahu. And if not, and if he's not going to cut, then nothing's going to help, right? In other words, no. And if they don't manage, what will they do if they don't manage? Says Rashi, they'll go to the other side, right? They'll go to the other side and gesundheit. There they have a whole clearing, right? Rashi also points out, interesting, had my beautiful neighbor cut one of his forest, I would cut as well. Why? Because at least here they have difficulty, and here they're going to have one clear way. Get what I'm saying? At least they'll have continuity from here to here. All this is cleared away. But since anyhow they have to do this slalom, they have to start, roller coastering over here because that's bad, that's good, and that's bad. For sure, to have this on off annoying thing. Of course, they would anyhow prefer going the other side, the other bank to begin with. Rashi says they're not going to go, they're going to go here, then jump the other side of the river to my side, and then back there. That's obviously foolish to do, right? So since anyhow it's going to be very checkered, very in and out, because my neighbor probably will not cut, there's no reason for me to cut as well. I'm not helping anybody, not significantly, definitely not enough for me to lose all the money from the tree. Can't tell the tree from the forest, and therefore he did not cut that. Rabba, yeah. And by the way, excuse, I just want to correct myself. The Gemara did say that there is a chance that Parza Krupila would do it. It's just not so likely. He says, if he cuts, I will cut. Maybe he'll convince him. Could be he has his own boats. Then he wants people with his own boats to go through, maybe. But you don't mess up with him. Yes. I would rephrase the question and say to our viewers online, what's the chiddush in the story of Parza Krupila? We're not just telling us tales from the Talmud. I think the chiddush is, one could argue and say, you do your best. You do what you can, even though the neighbors are not cooperating. The answer is no. If the neighbors are not cooperating and it's going to be so checkered in and out, you don't say maybe for those few meters it's going to be better for the schleppers. We don't say that. And if my neighbors for sure won't do that, and they're uncooperative goyim or thugs or mafiosos or all in one, and therefore there's no point of forcing me to do that. It's not mitzvah of the gavra. It's a situation which is environmental, vital. Same story now continues, and that has to do with your story from yesterday. Rabba bar Rav Nachman, Kuf Ches Amud Aleph, we're starting today's Amud. Rabba bar Rav Nachman, do not get confused, please. The owner of the forest over here is Rabba bar Rav Huna, and now we're talking, although this is chapter 2 of the same story. Rabba bar Rav Nachman, a different Moira, Hava Ka'azil Be'arba, he was sailing. He was being taken in an alva. Alva, we all know, is a boat. Yeah, he took a boat ride. Yeah, in Bava it was very common as a regular means of transportation. So he was in the boat, and as he was sailing the boat, Chaza Hahu Abba, he saw that forest. Yeah, the Kai Aguda Denahara. He saw a forest that's there by the bank of the river. Omar Lehu, he asked the other people in the boat, he asked the other passengers, the man, who's the owner of that forest? Amule, the Rabba Baravuna. That forest belongs to Rabba Baravuna. Upa. Now, he did not know the whole history of Parza Kulfila. He didn't know about the background story here. He didn't know the whole story, what's behind. And he was upset. Omar, what? This is an Amoira? And this is how he behaves? Yeah, against halacha. He keeps these trees right next to the river. Omar, he quoted the Posuk, the Yad Hasorim Vasganim Hoiso B'Maal Hazeh. Rishoino, which means that the Sarim and the Sganim, the ministers and the vice ministers, they were the first ones to be moyal, to embezzle. In other words, even the highest people, even the most choshev, important people, even they, doesn't mean embezzle, even they are misbehaving. Yeah, like sometimes you very rarely hear of a minister in the government that misbehaves. Doesn't really, So, but that's not a minister. That's an Amoiro. That's really unlikely. Yeah, what's going on here? He was very upset. Omer Lehu, he told the other people around him, Kutsu, Kutsu. There are two ways to explain it. Either right away, Kutsu. Shulchan cut right away. Cut the forest straight away. And he didn't know what's the story behind it. Okay. But the reason why he behaved so harshly and so quickly, the Shulchan Aruch says that the forest owner, as far as I remember from a few days ago, from yesterday, the Shulchan Aruch says you don't need warning. In other words, this is because it's Rabbim. You have to understand, and this is something that you bothered with yesterday. Halacha views the Rabbim, derech Rabbim, Metzia shechziku Rabbim also lekalkeloi. In other words, we don't live in this, ego society where it's me. The public is more important than the individual in general. Yeah, and therefore, since there are many boats going through. Remember, boats then were like a car today. Yeah, it's like in Venice. It's not like, a boat is something cute you ride when you feel like with your kids in Venice Manin. It's basically a very important, means of transportation for everyone. And the schleppers many times have to schlep the boat. So if you have your trees over here, you're disturbing a whole tzibur, not just one person, yeah? And therefore, he told him, cut it straight away. There's another version that says kutsu. He told him, cut it, and katsu. They did. One is an imperative, and one is past tense. He said, do cut it, and the right away did. Also, Rabba Baravuna came back to the forest at some point, to what used to be his forest, yeah. Omar Ashkeche the kites. He found that the top forest is Zechron Levrocha. I don't know what they did with the trees. It's a good question. But Lamaisa, the forest was cut, was severed. Maybe left the stumps over there. I don't know. But there is no forest anymore. Yeah, Omar, and he said, Man katzye dokutz anfei. Ay. Whoever cut the tree, his branches are going to be cut, meaning his children. Ay. As you said the story yesterday, we see stories many times. I'm going to tell you soon. The one who cuts off a tree unjustifiably, then what? Then he's not going to have children. Amri, and so it was. Amri, they say, Kulu Shani the Rabba Baravuna, as long as Rabba Baravuna was alive, the victim of that too harsh, too quick severing of the trees, as long as he was alive, the one who gave the klolo, Kivyochol, Lo ikaim lezar Rabba Barav Nachman. Rabba Barav Nachman did not have children. Same story happened in Golders Green a few years ago. I'm not going to the details, but there are stories like that. I'll tell you another story. Okay, story time in the middle of Shiur. Let's allow ourselves the small story that Rav Schar said. So I believe the story. Rav Schar said, B'Shem Mever Chosh V'Rov in Antwerp. The one they used to, or Yankel, or maybe Kreisvir, one of the Chosh Rabbanim, he said that there was an entire building that was built for Avrechim of the Koilel in Antwerp, and it was meant to house just the Koilel people. And as they started, they moved in, they all lived there, a few young couples, and nobody had children for a few years. All of them, or not, none of them. You know the story. And then they found out that while building, that's even Chutzlarts, while the building was in construction, there was a fruit tree that was cut off. So nobody had kids. And then they moved house, or I don't know, they did something, and then all had kids afterwards. So it's very connected. The fruit of the person is vis-a-vis, correlated to the fruit of the tree. As we saw a few weeks ago. Yes. Weiter. Now, okay, now we're going to learn a little bit about taxes. Omar Rav Yehuda, Hakoil, everybody has to pay taxes leigli gapa for security. Yeah, igli gapa are the doors of the gapa. Gapa we saw in Elu Metzias is a fence. There's a fence around town, and there are doors there. Today, yeah, like if you live, let's say in the Shtachim, yeah, right. There's a big fence. There's Shomer Bitachon all around. All yeah, some of them do, some actually don't. Whatever. Yeah, there is security around town. Everyone has to pay for the upkeep for that, the taxes, security taxes, everyone has to pay. Even the Yesoimim, we know that Chazal, without going to details, Chazal were very, very particular, where, like the guard dogs of the Yesoimim, orphans, you don't take money from orphans because people can easily exploit. I mean, obviously, orphans that are young and clueless about what's going on, there's an apotropos, a custodian over them. But as long as it's done legally, you even tax the assignment, and the assignment have to pay for you do it the right way. Yeah, you speak to the custodian, and you get money from the assignment as taxation for security. They also need security. Who doesn't need physical security? Who doesn't need shomer bitachon? Who doesn't need the guns? And who doesn't need the fence all around town? Aval rabbanan loy. You do not collect security funds, security taxes from the Talmid Chachomim. The Talmid Chachomim do not have to pay taxes when it comes to what? When it comes to security. My timer, parasites. My timer, why not? Rabbanon loy tzrichin etiruso, because Rabbanon learn Torah. Those who learn Torah really, submerged in Torah, they don't need the Shmira. Yeah, without going into too much hashkafa over here, but when people ask you about army, yeshivas, quote this Gemara. This is a good Gemara to quote without going to details. I don't want to talk about it now, but basically, a person who really sits and learns seriously, he does not need anybody else to look after him in the ways of Teva, in the ways of Olam Hazeh. This is clear in the Gemara. The halacha, he doesn't have to pay the taxes of security. He's the one who creates the security. He brings security to town by sitting and learning Torah in the town. Because Torah Magna Matzli, it says in the Gemara in Soita, Daf Chof, the Torah is what guards us and secures us more than anything else. And that's, okay, off the soapbox, continue. 1 second. We had the same Gemara in Bava Basra Daf Ches Amud Aleph. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Very nice. However, Lekaria depatia means, let's say the town needs water. What do you mean, let's say? Every town needs water. But let's say that now the people in town decided to, go on a new venture, and they're going to look for water underneath and to dig wells. Let's dig wells of water, to find, good clear water somewhere under there. So lekaria, what's lichrot? To dig patya. What some of Forshim say patya means a street. Patya means wide, rachav, rechov. The wells in the street that are being dug, it costs money, right? You have to pay the contractor to go and make a nice well of water. That's vafil merabonon, that you take from Rabbanon, because Rabbanon need to drink. Yeah, they sit and learn, they need to drink too, right? That is not something that they're exempt from. So it's not like Rabbanon are exempt from everything, just from security, but from water, they're not exempt. However, that too has some kind of limitation, and that's also qualified. That is only true that they have to also pay money for what? For the kablan, for the digger, for the water well digger. They have to pay that. However, that is only if they pay other people to do that. It's a paid job, like in modern city. You pay there, yeah, they collect the garbage and they dig your holes or whatever. Too many holes, yeah. But here, if the people themselves, what's uchluza? Like uchlusin. Very good, the populace. If the uchlusin, the people of town themselves become all very pioneerish and they themselves go and dig physically the wells, and everyone goes out of the work, the jeweler and the garbage collector and the lawyer and the doctor, they all go and they dig wells in order to find water. Here, Rabbanon don't join the team. Avalu chluza loy. Rabbanon are not supposed to actually go out of this medrash and crawl on their feet and start digging. Why not? The Rabbanon lav bnei mepak b'chluzaninu. Rabbanon are not the kind of people to go out with the other people in order to dig wells, because, says Rashi, it's not respectful, it's not respectable for them, because gnaihu lohen, it's a disgrace for them. Yeah, you can ask other people to do that. For Talmid Chachamim, they're not meant to actually crawl on the floor and start getting dirty with finding the water. It's nish to cover the Torah, and other people should realize that. However, another limitation here. I saw in the Nimuke Yosef, he says, I'm not sure if that works la halacha. Again, this is not a halacha shiur by any means. He says that is also a way for the Talmid Chachamim not to pay for the kablan. Why? Because at the end of the day, let's say we're in a kind of town where people would do it themselves, right? People would actually dig the hole themselves. And then one morning they say, why should we get dirty? Let's modernize. Let's become, westernized. And instead of us getting dirty, let's call Mahmoud Jabrin, and he's going to dig the hole instead of us. So he's instead of who? Of the people who would actually crawl and dig themselves. But that's not Chachamim. Chachamim would never have to dig the hole if it was them themselves. So maybe they also don't have to pay for the one instead of them, because it's not instead of them. He's instead of the other people. That's just a point to think about. That's something mentioned in the Rishonim. Omar Rav Yehuda. Oh, here maybe you should have another picture, although it's a very easy picture. Omar Rav Yehuda. What? The Psak Halacha, I don't know if Talmidei Chachamim actually pay for the wells. I did not yet see if they pay the kablan who digs the wells. Halacha L'maaseh, I don't know. I have to check it. I have a long weekend to check that one out. Bli neder. I don't remember the halacha, I have to admit, but the army know, and water bills, water for those who actually, now water bill today is different because it gets it to his house, but the water that's being dug for the digging of the wells is a question. Let's put it this way: they don't have to crawl themselves. Do they pay the kablan? Is a shaila. Bli neder, I hope to remember to check it today. Omar Rav Yehuda. Oh, now, we're going now to talk about the following situation. Sometimes, let's stay with the river. I don't need a new picture. River. Now, forget about forest and all kinds of nasty neighbors. Let's say these are all nice fields that are being irrigated by the river. How big of a space do you have to keep between the river and your field, by the way? 4. Daladamas. Das Maskon is not 16. Daladamas, okay, all nice. But then every person who is lucky enough to have a field pretty close to the river enjoys the water of the river, right? Very nice. Now, the river goes from the Elyon to the Tachton, from its sources, from wherever it starts, from the spring, and then it usually, spills into the sea. So now there's this river, that one, let's call it the Elyon, the upper one, the middle one, and the Tachton, the lower one. These are fields now. It's good. They should be there, as long as the Daladam is away. Now, sometimes the river gets stuck. The river gets stuck. Let's say there's Sirtoin. Sirtoin means basically like, Sirton in modern Hebrew, Sirton is like an iceberg. It's not an iceberg, but similar to iceberg. It's a collection of lots of, what silt it's called? Silt. It's like a small mound that somehow was collected in the middle of the river, silt, and it blocks the water from flowing properly. It's an unwanted dam, not a man-made dam, but it's an unwanted one. It's some kind of annoying thing that, and again, it costs money, time, energy to deal with it. Somebody has to clear, let's say over here, there is a siltoin, over here there is that stumbling stone, that silt, that unwanted pile in the middle that stops the river from flowing or flowing properly. So somebody has to pay for the what? Clearing it out. From drenching. Dredging. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes. It's accumulation of mud. Amar Yehuda, lekarya denahara. The kids in Aramaic, it's called karya. You call it silt, you call it sirton, it's karya. Like kri, by the way, makes sense. What's a kri? A pile. Usually it's a pile of wheat or barley, of grains. Here it's a pile of mud that nobody really wants. Lekaya de nahara, tatoi mesai iloi. The lower fields have to help the upper fields to actually pay. Why? Because if the water doesn't come to the upper ones, for sure it doesn't come to the lower ones, right? You, all the water is down the river, they're all affected, they all have to pay, the top ones, and they all have to participate in the expenses. However, the other way around, no. But don't ask me what's the chiddush. I'm going to have a few cases here, then we'll deal with the chiddush, okay? On the opposite case, though, Eloi lo misai tatoi. let's say that the silt, the sirton, whatever you want to call it, that karya is over here and not over here. The river is flowing beautifully by us, the upper ones and the middle ones. The lower ones, they're stuck and they have to pay. Only they have to pay. Why? Because they say, not only we don't care, it's even better for us because the longer the water stays here, the better for us to water our fields. As long as there is no flood, which there isn't yet. In other words, we are very happy. It starts to sound so selfish, but it really, really doesn't bother us, to say the least, that we have a lot of water over here. And the fact that water doesn't come to you will offer you sympathy and a smiley, but nothing more than that. It doesn't really bother us that you guys have to deal with your thing. In other words, we don't say there's some kind of camaraderie, like communism, like shutfus over the whole river. Each one to his own. And the upper people don't have to pay the lower people. There, here it flows just about well, even better, because it's not flowing too much. It's not running away. Now, v'chilufa, the opposite case, and I don't have to make a picture, this is when water is wanted. Ask every person in the neighborhood. Many times water is not wanted. Yeah, such as drainage water, rainwater in the wrong place, right? The chilufa, the opposite case, is b'maya demitra, rainwater in places where, here we live in a hilly place, but in some places in Israel, like where I was born, it's a huge issue every winter. Yeah, the streets are blocked, the manholes don't function for some reason, and you have puddles up to here, right? So what would people do? They don't want the rainwater to just stay there and basically flood the whole place. So what would it do back then? In a town, let's imagine this is like a profile from the side. There's a town, there's the upper side of the town, middle and lower part of the town, and they would, and the water would stay here or here. Maybe there are a bit of plateaus here and there. The water would stay. They would have a proper drainage pipe. They would have a drainage pipe going alongside the entire town and then sending it out to the field. Yeah. In other words, this is like a man-made pipe. The man-made pipe would be alongside the whole town. This reminds me of Tveria, right? There's lower town, middle, and upper town. Yeah. And let's say, but the drainage can be an issue. So, or the flooding. So they would create, a man-made, like a canal, like a sewage, basically a pipe, that goes all the way down to here. And sometimes it gets blocked. Ooh, sometimes there's blockage in the drainage, in the pipes. There's blockage, and what do? It's the same story, but the other way around. Let's say Baal Peh, if the people downstairs, let's say the people upstairs have it blocked, then these people say, Givaldig, all the water stays there. We feel so bad for that. We'll say Tilim for you. You guys are all flooded up because it's clogged up by you. We are very dry and great and happy, so we don't have to pay for your cleaning and dredging. It's called, your pipes. The shank and the other way around. If the blockage is over here, then eventually the water goes up all the way up there too, right? If there's stoppage over here, the water has nowhere to go. It goes up and out there through the manhole or through a river. The water goes up there, and therefore, if they have an issue, then everybody has to pay. And obviously, the middle is somewhere in the middle. So now let's eat inside. The chilufa b'maya demitra. That's it. The Gemara doesn't go into details. B'maya demitra, it's the opposite way. The lower people don't have to pay the upper people. The upper people do have to pay the lower people. In other words, one idea is as follows, and I think that's a chiddush. Although I told you I didn't prepare here with halacha, I didn't open Shulchan Aruch today, but I do remember that there's a psak halacha that says that, let's say there's an elevator or a lift in a building, and the lift is an elevator, and it's not working. So you have to call, the mumche to fix it. So they say, there's a psak halacha that says everyone has to pay the same. But the people of the first floor, or even second floor, say we don't need as much the people who live in the 236th floor. They need it much more than us. And yet I read a psak that say no, everyone has to pay together because it's everyone's lift. This Gemara, I don't know. This Gemara is not so. I'm sure there's an answer. We're learning this verse superficially. Just I'm pointing out it's a chiddush. Here we don't say all for one for all. We say no. This is affecting us. This is affecting us. We have to pay. If it's not affecting us, I'm sorry. It's even better for us. 1 second, please. Tani Namiachi, a brisa that supports the following halacha. Chamesh ganois. There are 5 gardens. Imagine yourself like terraces. 5 gardens, one kind of top of the other, like terraces, like medoragim. Okay. Chamesh ganois mistapkos mayim mimayan echod. They all get water from the same mayan and that Mayan, let's say, it flows alongside, down the hill of those terraces, when it's calcula Mayan, the Mayan at some point is blocked, something went wrong, mikulkal, because it got clogged and blocked and I don't know what. All the kids threw the bamba wrappings over there. Now it's blocked. Right? Everyone has to fix with Elyoino. This is good water, which we all want. So if the problem was in the top, nobody's getting the water, neither the top nor the bottom. The bottom has to pay for the top. And we don't say it happened by you. No, it's affecting you indirectly, but it's affecting you too. You don't have water either. So even the problem happening in our rishus, I think it's also chiddush. Even though the problem happened in our rishus, in our domain of the top people, but it is affecting you guys, you're going to dry out quickly soon. Sooner or later, you'll also be dry. So fix it up with us. So the lower one, miskenim, they always have to fix it. Whether it happens here, any step of the terrace, the lower ones are always affected. Because wherever the blockage is above them, they'll always be affected, not going to get water. And it's also mitaken for itself, but only if the blockage is in the bottom, nobody else pays because they're happy that the water stays by them more than by the lower one. As long as it's not flooding, it's like Givaldik for us, it's good. We should fix it. Why should we fix it? It's your issue, fix it alone. The same goes for now this is now the other way around. 5 chatzeros, there are 5 chatzeros, 5 courtyards, 5 houses, and it's like a terraced house, like where I live, like Medoragim, and they all have one biyuv. What's biyuv? Sewage, we all know that. They all have the sewage pipe going along. Now this is unwanted water. By the way, sewage doesn't necessarily mean toilet, it means even from rainwater. But we don't want the rainwater to come and flood us. This is not in the field now. We don't want water in a house, right? But it's calcula beef. Now something went wrong with the pipe, let's say blockage and some, etc. Everyone's the other way around. If it happens by the lower one, then it's blocked over here. Then it's this mamish. Okay, don't get personal online. This mamish happened in our building. Mamish. There was an installator. There was a plumber. By mistake, the plumber blocked something in our building, and it affected all the way to my floor, which is like second, almost third. Third above that. In other words, when there's blockage over here, it's affecting. And water comes all the way up there. The water is nowhere to go. So of course, everyone has to fix with the lower one, the lowest one, because it's affecting everyone. So So now the upper one is the one that always has to suffer. Because why? If it happens here or here or here, the upper one is always affected because water will always go unwanted up there. But the kenes le'atzma. But if the blockage is in the top one, the lower one say, great, the rainwater is not coming here. We don't want rainwater. It's retivut. You have the drainage over here, but the blockage, go call the plumber and pay yourself. Interesting. Okay. I don't know halacha l'maaseh. Okay, I have a lot of homework this Shabbos to check the halacha regarding what? Regarding this, the Talmid Chachomim, and also regarding how in modern day, by the way, you should know, that's always a good, you shouldn't say cop out, but we follow Dina the Melchusadina. In other words, if the norm / law, in this neighborhood, in this town, is that the entire building treats the elevator equally, even though they're not benefiting from it equally, that's Minig Medina, you follow that. Could be Enochinami, could be I'm right according to the Gemara, that Mikra Adin, people who live in the 100th floor have to pay for fixing an elevator much more than people in the 3rd floor, and maybe the people in ground zero, excuse the pun, don't have to pay anything, right? So that's, again, I have to check the halacha, I have my homework, Beseder, okay, Omer Shmuel, okay. A little bit of question time. Yeah, I'm listening. Almost Shmuel. Okay, so before we continue, let's remember the Persian law that we met when we learned Bava Basra. There is a concept called taska. Taska basically means tax over taska, tax. Interesting similarity in the words, Now maybe you know where the word tax comes from Persian taska. And taska is the tax you pay for property tax, for owning a field. You have to pay the government X amount per month per year. And the Persian law was, and they applied it in Bavel, I guess, because we're in Bavel now in the Gemara, and the law was let's say there's a land of Hefker, yeah. So the Persian wouldn't say like in halacha, whoever catches first catches. Whoever catches and can pay the taxes is the one to catch it first. Yeah. Let's say I caught the field, but I can't pay taxes. No, only somebody that they know can actually pay taxes for the field. He can chop the field as long as it's Hefker, making sure that he has how to pay the taxes, and then everyone's happy. They get the taxes. He got it from Hefker. All very nice. That's the law in general, and we follow that up to a point. Dina de Melchusadina, as long as it doesn't bother anyone. However, Omer Shmuel, oh, it's late. Omer Shmuel, Hayman de Achzik berakta denhara. Akta denhara, we saw it in Perek Sheni. Akta denhara is an unofficial port. What do you mean unofficial port? Akta denhara is a place that's not owned by anybody. It's Hefker. But the norm is that that's the place where the boats moor, that's where they anchor, and that's where people schlep in and out stuff from the boat to the bank of the river. It's not owned by anybody. Like in the modern world, the port of Haifa, port of Ashdod belong, I don't know, to the port authority, to the Chinese, to this. No, this is like, it's not officially owned by anyone, but this is a place where people just, unload and load, and it's like a field. It's an empty field next to the mooring area, to the anchoring area, and people just do their stuff there. So people are using it. Comes Mr. Chocham, and he says, hey, wait a second, this place is Hefker, and I follow the Persian law, and this is Dina de Malchusa. I'll chop it, and I'll kick out everybody else, because now I'm the one who got it. I can pay taxes. I'm a young, promising investor, entrepreneur, and what? And I'm chopping the place, and everyone else should go should go away. Go jump in the lake. Thank you. Amar Shmuel, hi man, dachzik ba'akter, and chatzifa havi, is a mechutzef, yeah, is insolent, is cheeky, is chutzpah. Siluki lo mislakinan le. However, we halachically, if he's Jewish, even if he follows halacha, we don't have the right actually to kick him out. Says the Meiri, maybe based on Rashi, Dina Malchusa. In other words, if that's the mice of the law, that's the law of the land, that you can chop a Hefker place, even though the Hefker, it's okay with the Persian. You complain, you send an email to the Persian government, they'll say, great with us. He's paying taxes, nobody paid taxes till now, we're happy with him. So follow the Malchusa, and it's a mechutzaf means don't do it lechatchila. If you're nice Yer Shamayim Avrech, and you ask the Rabbi, should I chop that field that people are using? The Rabbi will tell you no. That's chutz, but don't do that lechatchila, because the lechatchila, it's like Metzia Shechzik Barabim. This is something used by the public. But the Eved, since the Lord's on his side, we say, okay, then the field is his. Da'idna, however, there's a limit. Even Dina Malchusa has its limitation. I'm not following Tosis, not Rashi. Okay, I'm just warning you. Da'idna, nowadays, things change. As we know, laws change all the time. Da'idna, nowadays, the kakatvi palsoi, the Persians got a bit more cheeky when it comes to the law. The lawmakers changed and they expanded that law. And they nowadays they write, Kanilach ad melit savri susaya maya. They say if you get a field next to the river, great. We allow you now, as we know, every country has its, like water territory. The territory, if you get a field next to by the bank of the river, next to the river, you automatically get alongside with it enough water space in the water. You become the owner of part of the river up until the tzavar of the sus, the neck of your horse. Yeah, in other words, you also have that, right? In other words, so now this person is double chutzpah. He kicked out all the port workers, the port people, right? And also now he has part in the river. Adkan. There's a limit to Dida de Malchusa, yeah? We kick him out of there, we evict him out of there. Why? Because Lamaisa, now he's going to stop the boats from going. Yeah? He's going to make his own pool over there, yeah? He's going to block it, make his own nice swimming pool, sunglasses, all very nice, and all the boats have nowhere to go, right? Yesh gvul, right? In other words, I would say in modern day, a person who chops illegally a parking space is a big chutzpah, but a person who blocks the road itself, and no car can actually go by, it's much worse, there's no traffic. I think that's the logic here. Adkan. Omar Vyuda Omarav, from now on, for the next 10 minutes and so, we're going to learn, if there are quick and specific questions, I can hear them, otherwise please wait till 10:25. Omar Vyuda Omarav. From now on, We're going to learn again about chopping the field, and now vis-a-vis bar matzra. What's the halacha of bar matzra? Let's just refresh our memory. Let's say you want to buy a field. You made aliyah from England, from America, in South Africa, and what? You're not interested in living the urban life. You want to buy a field, right? And you buy the field next door to who? Reuven and Shimon both own fields one next to the other. You buy the field from Shimon. Comes Reuven, the neighbor, all angry with you. And Reuven says, excuse me, I'm a neighbor. I have the first rights. Yeah, I have the right of way. There's chus kedima to buy the field from Shimon before you. Reuven is right. You should have asked and found out if the neighbor wants to buy it first. I don't know if the responsibility is the mocher or koner or both. That's another discussion. I use the example of a field and not a regular apartment or flat because it's a shaila. About flats, it's not so similar. Social chanoch no sekelim. People make the mistake. In other words, if you have a flat, two apartments, one next to the other, and to buy the apartment next door to another neighbor, it's not supposed that he has the right to buy the the apartment adjacent next door, because it's not agricultural. For the agricultural person, it's very, very good to have two fields together rather than to have one here and one over there. He needs one long space, one big space to plow and grow everything in one go. So therefore, there's bar matzah. What's the logic behind it? We know the famous pasuk, "V'asisa yosher v'atoiv." What's "V'asisa yosher v'atoiv"? Do what is right. Do what's good for other people, not just for yourself. The logic being, and this is important for you to know now, the idea is this the only field in the world? No, go buy another field. Buy another field which is not next to an interested neighbor. You don't have to buy this field which is infringing on the rights of the neighbor. It's nasty, it's not nice. Okay, there are many details, what happens if that or not, but generally that's the idea. Now, following that logic, let's see what's going on now. Omar of Yuda Omar Rav. Hi man de achzik. Now, we are talking here not about a buyer. We're talking about the same guy who's using the Persian law, for his own, purposes, legally so. And he wants to be machzik. He's looking for fields here and there. Where's there? Hefker field? Hefker? I'm chopping the Hefker field, promising the Persian government that I'm paying, the taxes for sure, and I will. Good, all good. However, hi man achzik beini achi ubeini shutfi. Oh, let's say there are two brothers. One brother here, one brother there. In the middle, between brother Reuven and brother Shimon, there's a Hefker field, and you chop, boom, sitting between the brothers. Yeah. Then chatzifa havi, you're mechutzaf, because we assume that one of the brothers would like to be closer to the other brother. Yeah. It's not even bar matzra. It's bar matzra extra super. In other words, it's bar matzra, and I want to stay in the family's, area, in the family's plantation, the family's nachla. Siluki lo mesalkinanle, but we can't kick him out. Yeah, we can't kick the person out because why? Because, as we're going to see soon, unbelievable, there is no bar matzra necessarily. It's a machloikis whether we did bar matzra by getting something from Hefker, and there are two reasons why. Right now, we say brother A, brother B. These brothers, they knew about the Hefker field. They could also chop it, right? And they didn't, right? So therefore, if I come, it's a chutz, but it's not nice because maybe they would, maybe they're gathering money for the taxes. I don't know. But the Eved, you can't be masalikim. It's not as bad as buying. It's Hefker. Now, the Rav Nachman Omar, Nami Misalkinan. Rav Nachman says as follows. Opinion number 2. If it's two brothers, it's bar matzra extra. It's a neighbor and a brother. I really, really want to be next to my neighbor and have a bigger field and stay next to my brother. So then we evict him. We say, no, that's really unfair. That's a severe, infringing on the idea of bar matzra. Which means if Reuven and Shimon are not brothers, not partners, nothing to do with each other, and it's only bar matzra, meaning the only reason why the neighbor wants the next door field, the Hefker next to him, for convenience, he wants to be able to plow one long thing. That's not the reason to masalik lay. Says Rashi, why? Because we don't care about bar matzra. I was going to faint on the spot this morning. We don't care about bar matzra, says Rav Nachman. Bar matzra is halacha all over the Torah. Tosfos appeased me. Tosfos was nice to me. Says Tosfos, no, of course we care about bar matzra, but not when it's hefker. Not when it's hefker. Two reasons. Reason number 1, which I didn't tell you before, when I have money and cash, yeah, I have good money to pay for what? For a field. And I want to buy that field in the Galil. A neighbor comes to me and says, don't be such a Rosha. Don't be a Doimnik. I want that field, yeah, and I'm willing to pay. And I didn't know that it was for sale. You came all of a sudden and bought it. I had no idea, and I had money ready. You hopping something which potentially should be mine. Stay away, go away. Rav Nachman agrees to that. In this case, by Hefker, no, it's not that I have money to pay. Hefker means that if I have money, then I can buy this, buy that. Hefker, no, you don't just have Hefker fields all over the place. To find a field for free, with all those amenities, with all these good characters of the field, who says I would have? So as much as you want to stay next door to your own field, you want to expand your field, I, the buyer, I also want to be able to have the opportunity, have the chance, opportunity of getting something for free. You can't say, oh, there's a free field there. Maybe, but that free field with that quality, no. The Schenken money can buy you anything. So the same money that buys you here, go over there. Leave me alone, says the neighbor, buy over there. That's one logic. The other logic is, what I hinted to you before, is no. The reason why a neighbor has the rights over the neighboring field is it's up for sale, and nobody told him that it's for sale. And all of a sudden, hush, hush, he sees a new neighbor. That's unfair. Had I known that it's for sale, I would have bought it myself. And echnami. If not, then no. Bashenk and Hefker, it's Hefker all the time. Why screaming at me now? What do you want from me? Says, what? Hefker is a well-known thing, especially in Bava and Persia. They know it's Hefker field, that he's neighbor. Don't you know that the field next door is Hefker? The shake and selling can be done hash hash. People sell their houses very quietly sometimes. That's the reason. Opinion number 3, and thank you for your patience. So again, opinion number 1 says you only evict the person who buys the field next door to another interested party if they're brothers. Brother, how can you do that? Yeah? No. Opinion number says not even that. Even if they're brothers, it's not nice. It's a chutzpah. You don't kick him out. He's allowed to. He didn't break any law. Second opinion, Rav Nachman says that if they're brothers and neighbors, that's too bad, and then we kick him out, the one who bought, instead of letting them buy, or let them machzik the field. Opinion number 3, but if it's not brothers, if it's tam a regular neighbor, regular bar matzra, who say no, bar matzra does not apply when it's a hefker field. Hefker doesn't work with bar matzra. Opinion number 3, Nardoi Amri, first wide line. Nardoi say, the yeshiva men of Nardoi say, even with hefker, wow, even by hefker field, if the next door neighbor comes to you all angry and says, why were you machzik the hefker field? Because why? It's for free. It's no. I'm a neighbor. Neighbors, regardless of anything, always have rights, the first rights, to get the field before any foreigner comes from the outside world. Punchline, as I told you right from the start, the idea is you should do hayosho vehatoiv, be extra just, extra good in the eyes of Hashem, and do what's right, and do not ever buy or even be machzik hefker field that's next door to another person. If the other person tells you that he's interested, then you keep off from there. Okay. I will let you ask questions now, even though I'd like to continue, but okay, let's have the short question session. Yes. Second wide line. Also imlich bey. What would be the following case? Let's say you're good, from nice, asisa hayosher v'atoiv, and it's Elul. Soon I'm going to tell you a story about Elul and being honest with money. A person came, he wants to buy a field. He was nimlach, which means he consulted with the neighbor. He says, I know the halacha. Knock on the door, knock on the door of the field. Yeah. And he says, are you the neighbor? I'd like to buy the field. Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you, Mr. Neighbor, that I buy the field? Oh. The buyer, not Hefker, buyer. Thank you, Alan. That's important. Thank you. We're not talking about Hefker anymore. We're back to normal case of Asisa Yoshavatov Bar Matzra. You learn the halacha. You want to do what's right. You're not trying to play games and cut corners. And there's a beautiful field. All your life you wanted to own a field in the land of Israel. And you know that field is very nice and lush and amazing. When we pay money, I don't know how much, 2 million shekels, yeah, but there's a neighboring field. Yeah, you go to the kibbutz, to the moshav where the next door guy lives, and you ask him, it's the right thing to do, no? Imlich nimlach bo. You sort of consult with him. Is it okay with you that I buy? Omer lei, Omer le izil izbun. Can I go? Is it okay for me to go and buy? Omer le, and he told him zilzbon. He says, yes, go and buy. Yeah, go buy it from my neighbor. Says, let's say Reuven is the next door guy, and Shimon is the seller, right? So says, yeah, go buy it from Shimon, no problem. From the current owner, you buy it from him. It's not so simple. It's not so simple you can do it right away. Says the Gemara is asking you a question for it. Or loy. Before you say, oh, thank you so much, you're amazing, oh, yeah, it's so nice of you, and you run to buy the field and give the guy 2 million shekel and transfer, no. You may have to do a kinyan on that. His agreement to not use his rights of Asisir Shavatov, he has real legal, financial, halachic rights, so to speak, over that field, right? The one field for sale, right? The next door neighbor he's not the owner, but he has actual real financial halachic rights to be the first one in the line, in the queue, right? And when he gave up those rights, you have to buy it for, not buy for money. You have to make a kinyan sudar, or kinyan something like that, to show that it's a serious kinyan and not only words. Because as we're going to see, I'm afraid on Sunday, later on you can come and tell him, no, I'll tell already now, the next door neighbor can say, no, I wasn't serious. When I say go buy it, I meant, you know what I meant was, if I'm going to buy it from Shimon, the owner, you know how much he's going to charge me? Arm and a leg. He knows I'm dying for that field because I want my cornfield to be all the way through. He won't charge me the 2 million. For me, it's going to take 4 million. I wanted him to sell it to you for a regular 2 million because you're a regular customer, and then I'll chop it for you for 2 million. To be continued. Very interesting. I have to tell this story about Elul. With new recording, I want to post this online. 1 second.